Okay. So I think we can actually start going now. So good morning. It's 4 minutes after 11 a.m. GMT. Wherever you're joining us from, you are welcome to the National Film Authority webinar series based actually on the pitch series that is actually going on. It's ongoing. We'll be speaking to that. My name is Rudy Kwache. I'm the host for today. I'm a film enthusiast. I'm a creative person. I hope to make films one day. I haven't done that yet, done a lot of TV shows, but I hope one day we'll make film. But again, I play in the ecosystem from the content side, the supply side, the packaging side, and I have vested interest. Let me put my interest on it. I have vested interest in this conversation in the sense that I am gung-ho about our industry and how we can actually grow it. And today we've assembled it's an impressive, it's probably collectively like what, 200 years of experience. Because I've known every person except maybe Femi, who I just read about extensively. But every one of them I've seen work, do their thing in their career. And it's been an exciting moment watching them from Juliet. Yeah, I will tell her later, but probably, this is public, but you know, your screen idol. Yeah, there was once upon a time a crash, but then it crashed. Then we stopped all of that. So we'll move on from there. But basically today, once upon a time. But basically today, we're going to look into the Ghana film ecosystem, and we've been joined by people from all over the world. Some I know, we just actually had a special, somebody slipped in quietly from Sweden who has a vested interest in our ecosystem. And today we're going to look extensively at how to get it going. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate Juliet for an amazing work. She's actually the chief executive of the National Film Authority, putting together a strategy and fighting to have that established. It is no mean feat. When I know the bureaucracy bothering, what do you call it, government and parastatals, it's an amazing feat to actually get this thing going, and we're glad for this platform. Let me go straight into our panelists for today and introduce them properly to all of us. Now, Juliet Ya Asantua, and I don't think your name was by chance because if they knew, it's as if the Omens knew. Ya Asantua Asante is actually the Chief Executive Officer of the National Film Authority. Like I said earlier, she's a writer, producer, actress, activist, and an entrepreneur. In fact, tech entrepreneur, because before Netflix hit our shores, Juliet gave us MobiFlix. She actually forced us to start watching content on our phones. And this is a conversation I'll save for another day, because I actually want to track your entrepreneurial journey. And I knew I was watching every step of the way. It was a beautiful thing to see actually a tech platform emerge from this side, and we'll keep that on the side for today. Our second guest today is Cecil Sunkwa Mills. He's a banker turned, marketer turned, all-round nice guy, and he loves Formula One, which I don't know why, fast cars and men. But Cecil is actually the MD for MultiChoice Ghana, which is the Ghana franchisee for DSTV and all its allied platforms. He takes care of this region. And Cecil has an extensive work career on the West Coast and internationally, working with content from the marketing side. Femi Odugbemi is the Academic Director of MultiChoice Talent Factory. The Talent Factory is actually a continent empowerment project for film creatives and creatives at large, actually, to start their journey and give them that, that massive step so you can thrust yourself to the global scene. And then the investment maverick, I call him, former director of Data Bank. He's now the Ghana Investment Promotions Chief Executive. He'll be joining shortly. Mr. R. Yofi Grant, he'll be joining us shortly. Because today, it's not just about the quality of we make, it's about the business side of the show, the business side of content. That's what our conversation is about. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's only proper that Juliet actually walks us through and gives us a welcome. What the National Pitch Series, how did it start?
Well, good morning again. Good morning to everyone joining us today. The pitch series really is derived from the National Film Authority overall strategy. And so just to give an overview, the board of the National Film Authority voted to pass our strategy. I want to say our strategy as administration, our strategy for the next couple of years. And the strategy broadly can be broken into two areas. One, how do we situate Ghana to be a powerhouse in the sub-region when it comes to content? How does Ghana, what does the footpath look like for Ghana to become a film hub, a co-production hub, all of that, and the steps that we need to take to make that possible? And then the second part of it, of course, we have an African saying that when someone is coming to your house, you have to prepare properly. And so as Ghanaians and as a country, how do we situate ourselves in a way where we have the capacity and everything it takes, the understanding to be able to receive the world? And so our activities are broken exactly into those two areas. And the pitch series is geared to jumpstart the local drive to taking the local industry to the attention of the world. When you were introducing me, you said that I'm a filmmaker and I'm also a business person. So coming into this position, very clear on the products that we are selling, because film is a business. Down the value chain of film, we are talking about a business. We are talking about a product. How do we move that product from the creative process, because we have plenty of creatives outside? How do we move the conversation from the creative process to the place where down the value chain, everybody is aware of the process, aware of the content, and also that content can get a platform? And that is what the Pitch Series is about. The Pitch Series broadly is to bring brilliant ideas which we have to the attention of investors, because obviously creatives need investment to move forward. This is not a cheap sector, but as well as distributors, broadcasters, and all players down the value chain. And that is what the National Film Authority Pitch Series is about.
Beautifully, beautifully put. And I think it's as a bold, very, very bold goal to actually go. And the fact that, you know, it's coming to Ghana where 50 or so years ago, we had all the foundations and trappings of becoming a hub. Well, you know, this is digital space, but we always have to do this because, you know, we always need to be sending correct messages. I would like to take a commercial break. No, actually, it's a message that we all need to hear from the National Film Authority. And then by the time we come back, I'm sure I'll introduce my final guest, and then we can actually get down to this conversation.
Haven't touched, haven't felt, haven't eaten. When this is all over, let's discover our land again with new eyes. Let's feel each other again. We are one people, brought together by destiny. Let's make that count. Let's show love for each other and our environment. Let's tell our stories, and let's watch and listen to our stories. There will be so much to tell. Ghana is a truly beautiful country. Be Ghana, stay in Ghana, experience Ghana, make Ghana great. And we will invite the world to come and experience Ghana too. But for now, stay home. Brought to you by the National Film Authority. Supports the Stay Home and Discover Ghana Later campaign. This channel supports the campaign.
But that's a beautiful piece of video that came from the NFA. It's just to tell us to stay home, but we should discover a lot more about Ghana. And it goes right into what great year we had last year with the Year of Return, which actually sent Ghana out to the world. We'll be touching base on that. But my first question actually will go to Cecil. You work in a very important space, the broadcast side of the content ecosystem. And as such, you would have to be dealing with producers, you would have to be dealing with creatives. What's the biggest trend, a shift in trends you've noticed so far in the space in Ghana? Let me put it this significant trend.
Thanks, Rudy, and happy to be here. I think Ghana has been in the industry of film for since independence, as we can remember, and we've moved from the cinema, and then came also what added up was pay TV, which came in as analog in the 80s, and we have seen it evolve into digital, where we've now gone satellite, and we have also further moved on into digital terrestrial, which is DTT. Which we popularly know as Abo TV. And what has followed up now is also OTT, this OOM, where we actually now streaming online. And this is gone line in line with the improvement of access to internet, and access meaning actual access, be able to reach it, and also how much you pay for it. Internet has gotten cheaper. So all these channels have grown to complement the distribution. However, you would find for us as a business, we have been in the linear side, which is mainly satellite and digital terrestrial. And now the other area that we're currently looking into is the OTT, which is over the top. We've got, there's an online product, which is DSTV now, and then also the Showmax, which is just about to launch in Ghana. Now, why are we doing this? Is also the trend of what we're seeing is that we look at the consumption side, and the consumption trends for us, we look at it in a bit more Africa-wide strategy. In Ghana, see the same trend where people are going through the various distributors based on the affordability. In terms of content, for us, the big thing for us is that it is what we sell. Okay, it is a core of our business. So you would find that we, from time to time, we have made various investments. At a certain time, it was more sports biased, and then it's broadened also into the movie. We have found a platform, created a platform on Africa Magic, which has run for years and it's evolved. Today we have one of the rock channels, which is dedicated to Ghana. It's been a path of growth. And I think, like I mentioned, the growth is actually going to see more expansion in the future. We launched besides the distribution channels, we also looked at the development of the industry in terms of the quality of productions that we're getting, because that also has to trend. You know, the consumers are looking for better pictures, better stories, quality quality films to watch that are interesting and of the same level. What is hard now, there's globalization. So you would find that you cannot say that, maybe in one country because they have more equipment by doing something of lower quality. The quality is now everybody is looking at the same quality and we're chasing the same bucks. However, one of the things that conversations that we've had about the industry, which is a challenge, even though we're managing as a business. But if you look at it globally for more nationally, maybe as Ghana, we have completely lost the most important layer of monetizing. And one of the things that I've agreed with Juliet is that if it's an investment, it's a business. So if somebody puts in 5,000 CDs and creates a movie, he should be able to at least break even on a 5,000. Then he can go to a next project. So without that flow coming in, we're doing training, we're improving quality and everything. But when you don't have the monetization cycle, which is strengthened, then it becomes a bit of a challenge for the industry to grow. So you find people come and drop off, etc. So there's the monetization, and this comes to the distribution models. Of course, a company may take content and rights from people, but I bet you there's so much little space and there's so much content that all of it cannot be taken. So we've got to look at how we can monetize more distribution models. The other thing, which is also key for those who break through the area of monetization, they have a huge that catch somebody who's actually stolen your content or has taken the rights. The process of prosecution is completely an uphill process, you know, in terms of duration, etc. So there are some segments that we're also looking at together with the NFA and the bodies, the copyright, to look at how we can reform that. So at least that who spends thousands in a movie that he gives to probably Africa Magic or something, or even sells to another free-to-air station where they will generate some revenue from advertising. It's not picked and put on another station and he cannot fight back. So these are all some of the things that we're looking at. So these are the ways the trends have changed, but there are these things about monetization, distribution models that we need to look at, but we need to also protect the rights of the people who are producing the films and other content, and also look at how we can make fighting piracy a lot more easier. With the online platforms, there's a huge gaping hole. We don't seem to have progressed a lot in controlling that, but there are ways it can be done. It can be done. We just need to sit down, talk. It's nothing new. It's 10 key, and we just need the right policies, and then we can drive it, and then the business can monetize more easily. There's so much potential in this country, so much.
So,
and that's what I have.
Well, there are two things you mentioned that which we will touch on again, which is models and models, obviously, for monetization, and then rights management. But I want to take a basic, Juliet, having worked in this system and the the industry for so long, and actually now at your position as the CEO of the National Film Authority, what in the ecosystem do we have in the entire value chain? What do we have? What don't we have? What do we need to have this conversation on a level global ground?
Right. So the value chain is quite broad, and from the results we are getting from the pitch series, even out of the door, you can see that really Ghana doesn't lack creative minds. We've had projects that actually even go beyond the frame of what we know typically for the medium. I mean, beyond people submitting story ideas and great programming and all that. You even have people who are veering into games and all sorts of manner of things. And so creativity is definitely not one of the things we lack. What we lack, however, down the value chain, I'll take it from the point of view. First of all, I'll leave government out of this, and then I'll come back to what we lack from the government side as well. From industry side, I mean, through the process, even creatively, again, just to emphasize on our creative capacity, we actually have one of the oldest film schools on the continent. That is the National Film and Television Institute, which has been around for over 40 years, I think now counting on to 42 or so. And so we are sorted when it comes to that. And if you go into the track record of Ghanaian creatives, you would find that Ghanaian creatives are behind quite a lot of the rising of creativity on the continent, from our neighbors, brothers in Nigeria to other parts of the continent. We've had a big impact in promoting and even helping those countries develop. What we lack, however, when Cecil was talking, he mentioned broadcasters, he mentioned distribution, he mentioned the different opportunities that are coming up. We don't have those opportunities available to us. So for instance, if I'm a filmmaker and I make my film, I, as a filmmaker, I'm not the one who should go out and market and sell my film. In between that, you have the agents that come first, and then you have the distributors. We have neither of that. I'm happy to see that Alan, for instance, when we started this, I saw Alan joined us, who is from DIFA. DIFA is one of the distributors that are doing very well on the continent based in France. But is DIFA focused on Ghana? That is another question. So we don't have the distributors. And then you can go down further to the platforms. I mean, I can mention all the platforms. When you're talking about platforms, you're talking about your typical traditional television and pay to air, pay to view and all that on TV. And then you also have cinemas, and then you have VOD, video on demand, and all of those. We don't have those platforms. We don't have them in the sense that we don't have people who are here looking for content actively like we have in other countries or other regions. So that's a gap. But most importantly, I think what the lack is investment. Because when you have investment in your product and you have the adequate funding to do it, You can go out and seek those things. You can travel, you can assign 50% or 40% or 30% of your overall cost to marketing and distribution. But here, because you're working with very limited funds, you find that you use 100% of what you have on your production. And when you are done, then there's no money for marketing. There's a famous marketing phrase that said, if you're not advertising, you know what you're doing. It's like, if you're doing your business without putting it out there, it's like blinking in the dark. You know what you're doing and nobody else does. So I would say that these are the major areas of gaps that we have in our sector. Then you can add additionally things like government policies. We are excited that the NFA has come into being. We are late, but now the NFA is here. But then we have to go further, things like incentives, because we're not the only country, even on the continent, that is fighting for the same market. And so what are the incentives? When you talk about incentives, you have countries that range, you have incentives that range for 20% to as much as 50 to 60% cashback, tax rebates. All of those things are conversations that we need to have. Cecil also mentioned copyright and all of those things. All of those things are, points of interest that we need to pay attention to before one can say that we are absolutely ready for the market. And these are the main gaps that we need to tackle in the marketplace.
Okay. Then I would throw a big wrench in all this discussion. You've mentioned investment. He's talked about a gap. He's talked about the potential. That's a big, simple question. Do we have a product? Do we have a content product that can access these things? Because with all the things that you said, you put together, if it comes and we don't have a product, then what do we have? So the bigger question I want us to look at, do we have a Ghana content product? Is there positioning? Do you say, maybe Femi, from your perspective, and since we like that, we always competing with Nigeria in everything now. So from your perspective, with Nollywood as your backdrop, do we, Ghana, have a product that can sell?
Well, of course, it's first of all, thank you for having me here, and I want to say a quick greeting to Cecil. And obviously to Juliet, we've been friends for a long time. And whenever Yufi gets here as well, thanks, Ruby. I think that the first thing, and I think it's important that I answer that question from the perspective of what I do and why I'm here. I am here because I run a multi-choice talent factory. And the reason the multi-choice talent factory is an important part of this conversation is that in a film culture, it's, do you have a product can only be answered by, do you have the talent? And if you understand how much talent is in Ghana, how much talent across Africa, the one thing we've never lacked is talent. And if you have the talent, you have the product. What we do need to do is to figure out a way to empower the talents. We have the storytellers. We need to create the enabling environment for the talents to maximize, their output, which is why I'm very excited to be here representing the Multi-Choice Talent Factory. Cecil spoke about the opportunities in content acquisition. How much more can be invested? Julia talked about the various areas in which content is now something that is marketable. The question I think you asked is answered simply by the quantum of talents who are creating every day and making available the right kind of stories. The question is, how much have we given them room to maximize that talent? That's really what would be the proof of whether we have the products. The Multi-Choice Talent Factory sits at that junction. We're trying to make sure that the talents that we have are empowered, that they are given opportunity to understand what best practices are, not just in the creative process itself, but in how the creative process translates into a selling process. There is storytelling, but then there is story selling. And for me, one of the most critical things that a Ghana institution like the Film Authority can do is exactly this, to create a pitching process that allows young creatives, old creatives, all our talents to have a clarity as to how to story sell, how to put your best foot forward in the stories that you wish to tell. In the last 2 years, the Multi-Choice Talent Factory in West Africa has trained about 8 Ghanaians. In the last set, our alumni, 2 of my Ghanaian students shone incredibly brightly. I mean, Eddie was one of our award winners at the end of the session, and you know, SCR and Henry and Bolaji and Irene Dumevi, they're out there already now, creating, ready to work. And so for us, this is such a very, very important project, because it allows distributors, it allows investors, it allows everybody first to understand that the industry in Ghana wants to be merit-based, wants to create opportunity for emerging filmmakers to also, you know, find oxygen, for people to see them. I think what is clear about the pitching process like this is that it will prove that you have the product, because it would also make the process of presenting the product open and transparent. So back to your question, do you have the product? Oh, of course you do, because you have the talents.
Okay, before I throw my question to Cecil, Julia, he mentioned that the pitch process is actually an indicator. So I want you, one word, describe all the entries that you've seen so far and the ones that you've been able to go through. If you were to use one word to describe it, what would it be?
Captivating.
Captivating. Okay, on that captivating, Cecil, is it a matter, a challenge of packaging? Because you sit on the DSTV side and we see DSTV make, or Multi-Choice make content in Africa that competes with everywhere. I mean, before Netflix did Queen Sono, DSTV, Multi-Choice has produced couple action series several times over. You've done Doctor's Quarters, and all were done with continental talent, but the treatment probably was different. So is our challenge packaging of that product?
There was a bit of a break, but
okay, I was saying that I was.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
I'm
No,
asking.
so I'm breaking from your side, but I assume you are asking if we have a challenge with packaging, if I'm right.
Yes.
It's what I think that Multi-Choice has done quite well is that if you go back and you look at even when we started doing Africa Magic, it was one channel, and we had content that wasn't superbly packaged a couple of years ago, but we started up on the channel, and today you see where we've gone. So packaging for Multi-Choice, we look at it as it's not a one-way street, because we in the partnership and we've had with the content producers across Africa, we've constantly raised the bar and also supported them in making sure that the packaging becomes much better for us. The Multi-Choice Talent Factory program is an actual structured measure that goes directly to show the input that we want to give to make sure that change right from people. The workshops that we've had in Ghana, we've had about 8 workshops now, and these are, we've got areas in sound, various areas of filmmaking. Now, these are the tools and skills that these people need to input when they do productions. So you find that in terms of the quality and the packaging of it, where we are still sourcing from is much better, while we also focus on also expand the different platforms that are available for these to be run on. And of course, the content that's true is not only for MultiChoice, it is actually for Ghana. So anybody, if a producer has some good content that he's been trained, but he's got content which is good enough for some other TV station where he gets a good deal, that is fine. Maybe in Ghana, maybe out of Ghana, it all works good. But this is actually what we're doing in terms of making sure that the packaging gets done properly. Really, there's one thing that I'll just pop in. But we need, and I think we've had a number of discussions, especially with Juliet, that we need, I know there's COVID, but one of the things we need to bring back is we need to bring back cinema in the best way we can. If you look at the structure of in all over the world, that cinema provides, it provides a fair of revenue 10. And it's very easy to protect content which goes to cinema first. And it allows the people to at least break even or get some generate some revenue for the first. So we're not, when we say bring back, we're not asking, we're just asking for some type of a structure, release or something for investors to come through specifically for that area we can design. So it's something that we hope to still talk about because it's more of a bigger platform for different producers across. Can you imagine if we had just 2 cinemas in every region, and somebody releases a movie that runs across, and the impact of it in terms of the small revenue that he'll get, but at least it covers something. So it's one of the key things that is missing in our industry that we actually have been talking about. And we just need a policy discussion to see how we can bring it. But I guess after COVID, or maybe we use sanitizers to make it work.
We have to put what's called health protocols in place for that. I'm just proud to announce that finally we've been joined by Mr. Yofi Grant. He's the Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. And he's the money man. And in fact, the main focus, we were just warming your seats. You're here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We want to talk about money. I want to actually take you back a little bit. If you look at 2019 and the type of deals that passed through the GIPC or facilitated by the GIPC, was there anything or an indicator for something people were looking for in the creative ecosystem, whether it be from brick and mortar cinema to investment into content or even investment into technology? Do you get these inquiries?
Yes, thank you very much and good morning to you all. My apologies, I was having problems signing in. Just straight to your answer. Yes, indeed, we do have. And I will tell you that there's been various conversations going on to set up a regional, in quotes, a regional film industry in Ghana with foreign investment. I mean, we have a group already from San Francisco, LA, that are looking to set up a state-of-the-art film studio as part of their development of the trade fair site, but also as part of the Accra Marine Drive project, the marine development project. But you also know that there's been a major group also looking at a significant investment into a major, not just a film studio, but a film industry sort of development somewhere in the eastern region. I dare say, and maybe if they will permit me to say this, the group from LA that is looking at establishing a film studio are also looking at a film school and a theater and art school to put on the ground in Ghana, because they believe that there is enough cultural diversity and there is a market, a significant market in Ghana and the sub-region and the continent to warrant that investment. And so, yes, there are interests in that sphere. There's also interest in technology, using technology to, in the creative sense, in doing short infomercials, documentaries, and all that. And we are yet to actually sign over the dotted line to make sure that they are in. But there are quite a number of issues that are mitigating against that. And maybe those are the issues that we really need to discuss. Because before any investor puts his money down, he wants to ensure that one, there is return, two, there's sustainability, and three, there's growth. And so even as we talk about the film industry, I would say that, well, yes, I mean, we have enough, there is more than enough over here to warrant a fantastic film industry. Where is the market? And can we quantify the market? And that is what we haven't been able to do very well, that we say that, well, there's a potential market of, let's say, in West Africa, there's a potential market of 380,000 people who are quite homogeneous in their culture. So if you start, developing film content for that culture, and you can market it against what is coming from other sides of the world, then you do have a market. And then we can actually push investors to see the return in that sphere. And I'll give various examples. Let's take Nigeria. Nigeria is a huge market, over 200 million people. So in their own sense, they can trigger a film industry which has a market waiting, because they would want to see a lot more of their culture than perhaps many other countries. We see other countries who would be happier watching flicks and movies on Netflix, in the movie theaters that are imported, blockbusters and thrillers and all that. And perhaps we need to redefine what kind of film we want to show or want to market to our people, or what our people will accept. Because at the end of the day, film is just not entertainment. It is education. It is, in quotes, indoctrination. I mean, look over the past 30 years, and I'm sure you'd remember. Sorry?
Soft power at its weaponized best.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I can tell you that some perceptions I had about certain cultures were formed by watching movies, by reading comics. I used to think that all Germans were bad people because some of the comics I read as a young boy portrayed them as bad people. We saw it change from culture to culture to culture, depending on the time in history. I mean, you even go and today you see certain movies and they cast a certain type of people as the people who are the terrorists and the bad people and this and that. You are forming concepts and perceptions in your mind. And so we need to first define all these things. Are we going to use film as a medium of national empowerment? Are we going to use it just for entertainment? Are we going to use it for education? And when we have defined all those things, then we say, okay, where is the market? How can we sell to them? Because I believe that the potential is immense. I mean, I was a bit, I wouldn't say sad, but I was pleasantly surprised. At the same time, I felt a bit funny that a group from LA would actually identify Ghana to set up a film industry, which is not just for Ghana, but for the sub-region and perhaps for the continent. Because they looked over the continent and they say, okay, Nigeria has a great developing film industry. South Africa, yes. Where else? Maybe Kenya. But Ghana seems to be on the lips of everybody. And Ghana seems to be culturally diverse. I mean, just like Nigeria and most of the, there are over 600 different dialects of languages in Ghana. There is a lot of different cultures within the same continent. You can actually capitalize on that. You can monetize that. So we think that beyond that too, then there's the African market. We've seen what Africans are watching from outside. We can custom tailor all these things for that market over here. And we can create a platform where people will come and learn, people will come and, think and develop these concepts for the use for which we want, whether it's education, whether it's indoctrination, whether it's for the politics, whether it's for entertainment, whatever it is, and then make their return. So the real critical issue in developing a film industry here, because we all love movies somehow, but why are we happy to go and watch something on Netflix or on DSTV? Because it's exciting as well and it teaches us something new. We can't keep watching the same old that we live with every day unless we make it exciting. So if we identify that market, we identify the concepts, and we identify what philosophies can drive our film, then we are getting close to actually defining what the investor would look at and then put his money in. Because yeah, it's good to have a movie, but if you're not making money out of it, why would anybody invest in it?
Okay. You gave three benchmarks for what an investor looks at: ROI, that's returns, sustainability, and obviously growth. In these three benchmarks, at our current, what I get a sense of unmeasured market space to actually know the full potential, which of these three do we take? Do you think we have a product to guarantee returns? Do you think we have a product that is okay now, we can sustain it for a number of years, or is something that we can see an astronomical growth out of? Of these three, what do you?
I can tell you from where I sit, on all three, we can see an astronomical growth. You know, I mean, I'll tell you something very interesting. I like to watch a certain Nigerian channel on DSTV, and ask me why. Because they show diverse culture. It's all about culture. And I love to see the different dances, the different way of thinking, the different dressings, etc., etc. I'll prefer watching that, for example, and I'll keep watching that because it's teaching me a lot of stuff, to just watching a Nigerian flick that tries to mimic something from the West, by far. But I think that our own people are being deculturalized because we are latching onto other cultures. When we have beautiful culture that we can sustainably grow, and I think the market is there. So returns, I'm not sure is a bit of a problem, although I've looked at cinema projects in Ghana, and it's very difficult justifying the numbers. We have maybe just about three or four large screen TV sets here. It's difficult to even maintain them. But I think if we develop a certain product that has immediate market, we can develop these things.
Is that challenge?
Growth, I think is fantastic. I mean, I use myself as an example. My kids barely know anything about the history and culture of Ghana, despite all my efforts to teach them. All they know is, okay, the Ghanaian clothes, they love Ghanaian fabric, they love Ghanaian music. But there has not been any real attempt to formalize that learning process. And so I think that there's a huge opportunity and a huge potential for that has huge returns. And so that is there. And sustainability, hey, we are going to be around for a very long time. So far as you develop a product for which there's a market, you have sustainability. You just have to keep testing the pulse of the market to see what's the flavor of the month and put it through film, music, art, whatever it is. And then you have all three. And I believe that we severely and significantly have that potential to get all those three. And therefore, the opportunities for investment are there, the opportunities and the potential. Now we have to move from potential to actualization. And actualization says that we have to demonstrate that we have a business model or a financial model that will return investment to the investor and return investment to the actors and actresses. And then, yeah, to the whole industry.
Okay, so I want us to do a little exercise. Let's say we're coming to pitch. Since you're here, we're pitching to you. I've got the creative, I've got the marketer, I've got the talent person. Let's put together what constitutes something that would let him open his purse and sign a check. So Juliet, since you're the creative, how should the content be assembled before it goes for packaging? What are the things that I need to...
Well, I mean, it depends on what product you are putting together. I think that one of the things that is standing out from this conversation is the range of opportunities there are. And when you're talking about range, I'm happy that Cecil, for instance, mentioned cinema. You know, there's VOD, and even when it comes to VOD, there's a wide range. And then even when you come to VOD, we can even go further and drill down to mobile platforms. When you were introducing me, you spoke about me also being a tech entrepreneur and releasing mobile flicks. And may I say that mobile flicks, for instance, was ahead of its time. Because as we speak, there's another platform that has raised, I think, over 30 million to do just that, to bring short films to the mobile phone. We all know that Africa is leading when it comes to penetration of mobile phones. So even when it comes to products like that, why would a product like that not get the kind of support it needs to take off when we have a bigger phone market here? Then similar project has been able to raise millions of dollars out there and is taking off. And so just to be clear, those ideas are there. And those ideas are there for all platforms. You have, even when you go beyond in VOD, beyond what you have outside, you have the mobile networks here. I know for sure, because I worked with MTN quite a bit to try and develop their own MTN platform, which also is targeted at distributing content, not just visual content, also audio and all of those things. And so the opportunities are there depending on who and what you are selling. That is what will go into the packaging. Obviously, if I'm a filmmaker, there again, herein lies one of the challenges. Because if I'm a filmmaker, for instance, and I'm putting together my project, I'm coming at it from the creative side of things. I may need people who also understand the process to input into the process. So my own experience, for instance, when I did my film and I was looking at distribution, we didn't have entertainment lawyers in Ghana. And so even though I was distributing into countries like, I was distributing into the USA and all of that, and I couldn't afford an American lawyer. So I had to buy my own, there's a book online called Pocket Law for Filmmakers. And then I put together my own agreements and all that. And then, copied my lawyers on, hopefully my distributor is not listening, but copied my lawyers on and pretended like my lawyers wrote them. And so as a filmmaker putting together your project, there's so many things that come together to make that project ready for the investor to have a look at. And those are some of the gaps that we are talking about today. So when you bring all those elements together, I mean, Femi earlier on mentioned that you have the content, but then even speaking to the investor and being able to sell your content is another thing that we need to look at. So I just want to say that one of the things that we are even seeing people who have submitted so far shows that there isn't the lack of creativity, there isn't the lack of content, and there isn't the lack of content for multiple platforms and opportunities. Talking from going to film festivals, to cinemas, to pay TV, to free on air TV, to VOD, to even further down to mobile platforms, to all of those. And as I mentioned earlier, even to gaming. And even when you drill down, you are now looking at genres. You can even take animation and then take live action. You can take feature, you can take documentary. And so I don't think that the lack of content is a problem. The problem we have is the various buy-ins. I mean, recently, I'm happy to say that one of the things that our ministry and particularly the minister is concerned about and very interested in is even having a court that focuses on entertainment issues. And so when it's about, whether it's about copyright or whatever, how do you move yourself through the processes? Obviously, I'm sure you'll confirm that if any investor is coming in, the investor wants to make sure they can move their money in and take their money out, but they also want to make sure that the legal system is sensitive to what they're investing in, and all of those things we would call enabling factors or enabling elements. And so once all those things come together, then you can say that you have a package or you have something that you are ready to sell. And that's why we are having this conversation, to bring the elements together, because the filmmaker really is looking for air, it wants to breathe, but that breath really is something we as a collective now need to do, because there's opportunity in there, and that's why we are here.
Okay, so Cecil, if
I want to make just a little point on what Julia just said.
Okay.
I think very much like a lot of nascent industries on the continent, we haven't sort of solved the whole value chain problem of the arts and culture. And that is one major issue. For example, even the architecture of an industry like that is lacking. I mean, you can't find the producers, and producers have a certain purpose. Some of them package the deals. They package it financially, they package it creatively, and they put everything there, and then they carry it and take the risk. for the filmmaker and the actors and everything, and then they pay them. You know, but over here, what capacity do we have as producers to even develop that? It's not there, and that's why I say that there's fragmentation in the value chain, and I think we should be aware of that. That is a major limitation. We have directors, people who creatively will go out there and says, turn left instead of right, because left means that it creates a different impression or creates a different image. You know, do we have trained directors who have had capacity, who have built capacity to say, I can make a great movie? And I dare say, yes, if I go back 20, 30 years, Ghana had some amazing movies, Nigeria had some amazing movies. But what happened? The value chain broke. Do we have distributors who are in the middle there who says, that's a great product. I know where exactly the market is. I'm going to take it there. We don't have it. So yes, we do have the creative ability. We have the potential. We have great opportunity, but we have to optimize it by making sure that that value chain is clearly defined, is incentivized, and fueled as well. Fueled as well. I mean, I had a friend who was in Hollywood. He had been acting for 10 years. He told me, listen, I didn't make my first big packet till after 6 years. I had to grind through and you know, build up and gradually get myself known before I started getting the big flicks and I got my huge pay packet. Are actors and actresses willing to beat the hard road to make sure that they sell themselves, such that when you see the movie with them in it, say, I like this actress, so I'm going to go into it. Some people watch movies because of the actors, not even because of the plot. Because over time, they've built a certain character and image which is appealing to the observer. So I just want us to see how the value chain just threads together. Thank you.
Okay, that's a beautiful one. I've abandoned my perfect product quest. I think I'll just jump back to, let's look at the perfect deal. Okay, because a lot of the people and the questions I'm getting from here and the attraction is actually you being around and the investment side of the conversation. What constitutes a perfect deal that just works through? By the way, is there anything like a perfect deal in structuring an investment? And if there is, what does a creative deal need to walk through and get a big announcement?
Okay, first of all, I'm not sure there's anything like a perfect deal. And you know, you can write the perfect proposals, but if you don't have the perfect guy behind it, it's going to fall flat. A lot of transactions are dependent on who is driving it and who is carrying it. You know, so you might have a Juliet that we all know from her, you know, her actions on the screen many years back, and she comes out with a concept and says, "I'm packaging this concept." And say, she's known. She's probably known internationally. She's done some stuff. She can do a package that shows that this package will sell, and then we will take it to an investor and says, we've got this great deal. Look at it. You look at it, you read the script and probably says, okay, I'll produce it. And the script appeals to him or her and understands it and says, I'll produce it. And then finances it, and she's got a deal. The film may flop, but she's got a deal on getting that film out there. And mind you, it's not every movie that makes it. There are loads and loads and loads of movies, great movies, that for some simple, stupid reason do not make it. You know, I know there's a popular film star that everybody says they can't just believe how this guy hasn't gotten an Oscar for so long to the last one, because they felt that his movies were great. But maybe they're not distributed well. Maybe he didn't want some sort of distribution, or maybe he didn't want, you know, he didn't want the way it went. So there's no perfect deal. It depends on who is driving it. But the good thing is that it must be sellable. There's no point in making the perfect product in this world that is not sellable. I mean, a rough diamond in the ground and cut and stuff only has value as to what people think it is, not according to what it is, but what people think it is. And so once you put out the project and define the project and define what the project is going, you can actually make it saleable. You can make it appeal to the conscience, the culture, the taste and demands of the period and the people and the time, you know. And I unfortunately, I wish I could find, you know, I could find real local examples to use. But I recently watched a movie, 1917. And I'm a movie buff. I watch movies every single day of my life. I'm watching every movie that I can get. And when I finished, I said, wow, that's an amazing movie. Why? I don't think it was a big budget movie, but it sold a story that everybody would like to know. Everybody would like to see, how did this happen? Why did it happen? What was the human feeling behind it? And so a lot of people I've met are telling me, oh, that's the best movie made last year. But there's nothing really amazing about it. It's the way the story is threaded, that it appeals to the market. So there's an immediate market. So some producer must have said, that's it. I'll get on and go with it. And I'll tell you one last story. I recently watched a documentary of a filmmaker who first came up with the idea of Spider-Man. And he said when he first got it, he went to his producer and says, I've got this amazing thing about a superhero. I wanted it to be a teenager, because teenagers don't have superheroes. I wanted it to be a teenager. I wanted it to also be an insect for whatever reasons. The producer looked at it and says, come on, this is a lot of BS. Superheroes are not teenagers. Teenagers, they are just living carefree. So, I mean, his hopes were totally dashed. He thought he had a great idea, novel and known everything. So that same company was closing a magazine and they're going to do the last edition. So he said, okay, for whatever sake, as they say in Ghana, for shaggy reasons, let me just put my creation of a Spider-Man who is a teenager on the front of the front cover of this thing. After all, the magazine is dying. Last editions of magazines, nobody cares what goes into it because that's the last one. So he put the Spider-Man on it and went. 3 weeks later, he was in his office one day. The producer just burst in, bam, says, gosh, do you remember that great idea that you brought to me that I really loved? I said, which one? The last one I brought you kicked it out. He said, no, that's the Spider-Man one, that thingy. We've got to serialize this. We've got to continue with it. When he first took it, the guy said that was crap and threw it out. But when he started making money, he immediately came and aligned with it and said, but I said it was good. Maybe you didn't listen. So it's always the market that decides for you.
So I previously, I know you it's good to know that there are people coming, you're looking at investors, but we actually have investors in country. MultiChoice is one of those investors, and the number of issues that we have experienced on ground. And one of the big ones is about protection of rights and piracy.
Yeah.
We spend loads of money fighting to protect the rights of content we buy, both local and international. And it is such a headache. I mean, it's one of the things we bring in investors. But all I'm saying is that there are practical examples on ground, okay, and how we struggle. You can go ahead and arrest somebody. Even the legal process of going through, it is such a nightmare. You get cases that sit in court for 4 years, no result, and the guy has actually committed the crime. He's stolen the rights. So these are some of the things that we're actually discussing, and it's good to hear that, we had spoken with the GBA, Juliet, then we've spoken, but we need to speed this up. We need to have either special courts, or as we discussed, they were going to look at decentralized, having selected district courts to listen to copyright cases or things to do with creative on specific days. But we need to bring it into the fore. We actually planning a workshop in September, and I think it would be key to that workshop where we need to discuss. We've gone through a lot of discussions, but we need to consolidate it, because, like you said, if I put 5,000 in and I do a movie, okay, maybe a little movie, at least I need to have 5,000 back, okay, and that can be done irrespective of the distribution platform that the owner of the content chooses, but we need to be able to secure that cycle to work. Currently, it is such a huge hurdle. It has been such a huge hurdle.
So there's this, what would constitute a deliberate approach to actually propping up?
So it's a framework. It is not one thing. We need to look at the three components that we look at. We look at the content side of it. We look at the channel the channel creation. Content is the people who are actually producing it. Even contractual terms, people produce stuff and they're not sure who owns the rights. You know, these have to be done. There's simple that we need to have a team that looks at this. We speak to a lot of the industry people day to day, and these are some of the basics. So in terms of the content, then there's the quality, there's the training, facilities, etc., which is given. You know something, the people who are creative do not have time to worry about channel. They don't have time to worry about it. They want to create their content, they take money for it, and they go and create the next one. That is their focus. So for some of us, we need to look at it that how do we make it easy for them to focus and just create their content? And then we have a path of transfer, clear, analyze, adequate protection. Okay, then they can move it to channel. Somebody can create content. He wants to put it on a TV station, and they ask him to pay to air the content, which should not be the case. But in the environment, now we look at it. We have 133 TV stations, both on satellite and then on terrestrial. 133. Okay, how many are really creating content? But all the same, they don't have, in terms of they also generating money. So the whole ecosystem, when they send it, which station are you sending it to? And are they able to even give you the revenue? So that area of TV station and distribution, the channel, also needs a lot of look at where we sit now. Okay. And then we also need to look at the various platforms for distribution. Yes, we have terrestrial and then we have satellite. Now, what about OTT online, which is coming now? Rudy, I can tell you the number of different contraptions and boxes coming in that are taking content from the US illegally online. They're downloading from all kinds of places on. How do we compete in this environment? But remember, a company like ours, which is a significant investor, okay, for years, okay, you know how much we're spending on piracy? It doesn't make sense to fight. The protection is almost so low. It's almost so low. And yet you say, oh, DSV, you are not taking our movies, but it's the return that we used to pay to get to onboard more movies. So we keep taking, yes, it's business. You've gone in at the risk.
Let me bring in.
We need support. And let me say one more thing. Just one more thing, please. And then when you look at broadcasting, okay, one of the things that we have said is that in broadcasting, the revenue model is quite different from the telco model. Yet when you look at even the taxation structure, okay, we all bound up with it. We said that it's completely not tenable. Subscriptions are much higher in Ghana than any other country across Africa. Okay, how do we get a good return to keep investing in making sure? And the reason why pay TV investment is unique to content developers is that when you give your content to pay, you can be sure that your content is protected. So after you still have the right based on the period, it's not easy to do DVD. It is protected. You know? So there are a lot of things we need to look at in these three: the content level, the channel level, and the platform level. These are part of the conversations that we need to have.
I just wanted to add, Rudy, I wanted to add before you move away from this subject, that is exactly what really the pitch series is about, which is why we are doing this. When Yofi was talking, he mentioned something about Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man, for instance, we have Anansi in Ghana. So one will say, where are we not the originators of Spider-Man? So there's a little bit of that confidence level, low confidence playing in the space as well. But things like this and references like this just bring to the fore the fact that we have the ideas and we can tap into the ideas. And, you know, for all you know, just like Yofi said, there may have been a young person, or there is the young person now who has, you know, a similar thing, who maybe has a, you know, has a story, has an objective, has a business, has all of these things, but is suffering to meet that investor or meet that broadcaster or to meet that distribution opportunity. And so for me, in as much as the issues are many and we are all mentioning the issues, and those are issues that we will be dealing with because we indeed need to face those issues and address those issues before we are at our optimal place. If an investor is coming in, there are things that that investor wants to see, like Yofi said. And like Cecil said, being an investor himself, there are issues they have. But I think this platform really isn't to address those issues, but first of all, to bring those opportunities together where we first of all tackle one problem. So there are many problems, but what are the first problem that we need to tackle? The first problem that we need to tackle is to create the bridge and connect the dots between the two elements. So when those two elements find themselves, we believe that then there will be room for the issues to be tackled. Because even if you go to government and you say, put in incentives, do this, do that, you know, the question will be, where is the business? Where are the people? What kind of numbers are we looking at? If an investor is coming to put their money into a business, they want to know what kind of range of investment is this? I mean, we've had content that is ranging from thousands of dollars to millions. I think one of the submissions we have is actually even targeting over 5 million or so. And so those opportunities are there. And we feel that once we connect the dots, people who've mentioned things like training, workshop, capacity building, and all of those things will happen as, you know, as the industry puts itself and sorts itself up. And I think that that is what the pitch series is looking to achieve. At the table of the pitch series right now, we have all the players that are relevant. MultiChoice itself is an investor that is looking for products and also has experience on how they receive packaged material. And that is where, for instance, what the Talent Factory is doing is great, because if you are selling content, there's a way you sell that content, there's a language you use, there's a way you package yourself. How do we bring that opportunity to the filmmaker to understand that if I'm packaging myself or if I'm talking to an investor, how do I present myself? So that is the role, one of the roles that MultiChoice, apart from being an investor, having the Talent Factory is there to help streamline. Now, if you're talking to an investor, there's also a different way you speak. There's a different way you package yourself. There's a different way you sell. I mean, Yofi mentioned that at some point, it's not even about what you're selling. It's about who. So it's about presentation and all of those things. And we think that the issues are so many that if we are not careful, we would go in so many directions, and sometimes it will feel like there's no end to where we are going. But we do see the light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, it's not even at the end of the tunnel, it's right here. And that is connecting these players, where we have the producer or the content maker or the content originator who is either in development stage or has developed the product to something which is already sellable, as ready to go, or someone who is even in post, or someone who is looking to start a new project. And then we have the broadcasters and distributors and all those people who will serve, if you like, as the end platform that will take it to the audience. But most importantly, within that value chain, you need money to move it from one end to the other. And we feel that we need to emphasize that point very, very clearly on this, which is one of, you know, the most important prospect of the pitch series, bringing the elements together. We are by no means saying that we are going to solve all the problems now or that the problems are not there, but we are saying that there's an opportunity right now and we would rather focus on that opportunity. And as we move that opportunity forward, the players themselves will realize the further opportunity to tackle the problems, because if we don't tackle the problems, we won't move forward. And that is what the pitch series is trying to do, to connect the dots between the content producer and provider to the end user via the bridge of money.
Okay, now just a quick question to Cecil, just a recap. I wanted to make sure that, are you asking for a deliberate policy towards creative investments like tax reliefs, like what do you call it, rebates, and a way to obviously take your returns out? Is that what you're clearly asking?
We clearly need a deliberate action. A lot of stuff has been fragmented. We look at if that, and that's why we need to sit down, and we actually are putting something together. We've been working with the NFA, a deliberate action in terms of not just pay TV taxation issues. We're looking at cinema incentives for locals. Look, investors can come from outside, but let's not overlook the potential from inside. You could have an incentive program where you could find that assistant partner in Ghana, say Silverbird, could even go into an expansion, okay? And we can have maybe 2 cinemas in every region to start with, but it comes with that incentive. So it has to be deliberate. We have to be deliberate about how we protect the rights of people in the creative industry. There are laws that are there that are very difficult to implement. You have a case and you join the queue in be it the commercial court, etc. And you have to, sometimes you need to put down a payment of about 1 million cedis for your case to progress because you want an injunction on somebody who's taking your content. How does that work? How do you find 1 million cedis before you can get that kind of a hearing? You know, these are real things that happen, you know. So we have to be very deliberate and look at all the various aspects and have a clear policy, which I think can be championed by the NFA and the GF Garden Company, and then we can move. Yeah.
Okay. Our question, Q&A part is bubbling up. We'll be taking them. So I want to tell all viewers, you can send them through. I'm also watching Facebook, so I'll pick the questions there. If you're watching, don't worry. Please bring them in. I've got 2 deliberate questions for you, but your comment first, and then you answer my question. You said something earlier about we just don't have storytelling. We should master story selling. I want you to take from that perspective of what the deliberate steps, right? Because I wanted us to get to a point where creatives and producers and whatnot start to feel that there's a very conscientious effort towards getting us from point A to point B and not just a conversation to fill the space. What is that deliberate step we need to take? You deal with talents. What your comment first, and then please my question.
Well, I would first of all like to add to what Juliet has said, because I think it's important that for the rest of the period, we try to give enough information about the pitching process itself, how it translates into an investment out. I think it's important to also understand that the advantage of this pitching process goes beyond people just coming up with things that can be funded. It's also about warehousing a certain quality of projects. What I hope comes out of the pitching process is that the Film Authority is able to amass a few premium projects in different genres for which they can then begin to find partnerships to find investment in. It's very important to be very deliberate. The word that Cecil used, I think, is very important in a film industry value chain. To be deliberate enough not to leave opportunities open to just everyone, because there's so many stories and so many talents. The process that you are initiating, this pitching process, is incredible. It's perhaps one of the most valuable infrastructural things you can do in an industry as big as the Ghana film industry. It would create opportunity to identify the best projects, because that's really what you need now. We need projects that become, how would you call it, that become an example of our possibilities and our potentials. And that has nothing to do with how long people have been. A new student, a new filmmaker can create something that everybody, you know, that catches fire. I think that is very important, that there is a story bank that accompanies this pitching process and a set of projects that you can very much refer to as ahead of the line in terms of the conveyor belt of what we might present to investors when they do show up. But I also want to say this. It's important to understand that selling projects like this is much more than a filmmaker can do. The filmmaker can package together, you can call it a creative business plan, because that's what the pitch is. But it requires so much more. It requires lawyers. It requires accountants to do the numbers. It requires promotional agents. It requires artists and advertising. All of that is the support that I think is critical that the film authority must also bring to the table for the artists, because we're not selling just locally. We can't sell in the language of our usual selling process. We have to be able to understand what are best practices internationally. If we're looking for international money, we have to be able to present in an international, at an international level, the quality of our pitch. And I think this gives an incredible practice. Not everyone will be selected, but at least it's important that everyone understand that this process is critical even to their own individual creative growth, that they need to learn that it's not just about the story, it's also about how you present the story so that people are excited enough and motivated enough to see its potential to connect with audiences and to connect with money.
Okay. Now you were nodding a lot because I was watching your screen and you were nodding to a few points there.
It's interesting what Femi just said, and it reminds me of I told you I love film, and so I read a lot about film. The first box office hit in India which was traditionally Indian, was in 1917. It was by this filmmaker called Dada Saheb Phalke. It was called Lanka Dahan, or I think the movie was called Lanka Dahan, and it was based on Ramayana. And if you know the history of Ramayana, then you understand why it became a box office hit in India. Because you find something that people are identified with and they build on it, as Femi said, and then they build on it and it becomes something they identify with, and then it creates its own, buzz and marketability. But I'm also happy he said one thing, is making a movie is not just about the actors and the producers and the directors. That's why I keep emphasizing on the value chain. And that value chain is what makes movie making a business. It's not just entertainment, it's a business. People are going to put money in it. They want their money back. And if you look at India, the Indian movie revolution wasn't started by Indians. It was started by the Lumiere brothers, who tried to sell European movies to India as early as 1896, 93, thereabouts. And it took a while before after Lanka Dahan came out, the Indians said, wow, we've got our own stuff that we can actually enjoy and sell. And that was after we're coming out of silent movies. So now there was movement, there was sound, and people, they hear their own things in Hindi, and it was exciting. I think that we've gone through a similar thing, but somehow we've not been able to grow with it. We have Akan drama, and I remember very well, as a child, I watched Osofo Dazi on TV because it was amazing for me. I just loved it. It was in tree. My tree was very bad, but I enjoyed it. I somehow enjoyed it. My tree is still bad anyway, but I enjoyed it, but we didn't build on it. And that would have been a good trajectory to have followed if we focused on it. And because it was state, and we knew that a lot of agencies of state just broke down, it didn't work. And in most countries, I don't know of any country where the state itself, except the Soviet Union and China, has driven the film industry significantly. Most of it is the industry players themselves that have built that infrastructure and turned it into a business. I know certainly for Bollywood, I know certainly for Nollywood, and I know certainly for Hollywood. That is the industry players who have built up that value chain and built up the business of it. And so I am also entreating our people in film that, it's hard, it's tough. The content, there's no question, absolutely no question. There's content there. There's a market waiting. But we need to put together all the threads that will make it workable. And the threads include what Cecil mentioned, which is the big in quotes, the elephant in the room, protection of property rights, intellectual rights, etc., etc. Because if you don't have that, I mean, I see people just pick videos and pick pictures and use them without any reference to the people who supplied them, and there's no real fairness to it.
Okay.
Except, of course, the person gives you the right to use it. Then,
Okay.
I mean, that's the, but you see, so we need to understand that. First of all, we need to understand the infrastructure of making movies into a business, or the arts creative thing into a business. And I'll tell you one last point. I remember some time back, I made a statement on Facebook, and I was almost chewed apart by a lot of the people in the art side that exposure is critical. Exposure is very important. And they told me, oh, I should back off. What exposure? Well, they have enough exposure. And I said, what?
Remember.
You know what exposure is? If I put you in front of a film audience in Ghana, nobody looks at it. I take you to Hollywood and I put you in front of a film audience. And just for your diversity, they love you. You've gotten a totally different platform.
That's actually the first step of distribution. You have to
exposure. But we as Africans, we need to also develop that exposure. We can't expect the film industry to grow when within our own, we are not even exposing it to them. I mean, today, if you ask me of a major Ghanaian film actor, I'll struggle to name one. But I know of Vivian Naji and all these other people because they have a big platform. And maybe they've gone beyond that and gone international. We know Ghanaians in Hollywood, we know Nigerians in Hollywood, we know Ghanaians in the UK, we know Ghanaians in the US who are doing amazing movies because they've got the platform. So yeah, maybe we also need to create that platform within ourselves. But I dare say that the industry itself needs to play a bigger role in formalizing the arts into a business. Okay. And I see that in the music sense, it's happening gradually. It's not happening in the film sense. It's not happening in the other creative sides. I mean, our fabrics are not, I'm not even sure our fabrics are patented to the extent that we can protect them. I mean, I was morbidly sad when I saw Kente prints coming out of China, when we have an amazing bondre, which we could have even turned into something totally different through film. You know, so yes, the opportunities are there. We need to build the arts into a business. We need to recognize the cultural, the sentimental, and philosophical ethos of making movies, for example, because it's just not entertainment. It's got a lot more. And so what the state, I believe, needs to do is to create the ambient condition to enable that happen. And that's where it goes to looking at what are the laws, what are the incentives, what is it that's going to make somebody say, maybe I'll stop being a farmer and go making movies, because yes, I know exactly how I can make the movies. I may make 10 movies, maybe only 3 would be blockbusters, but they will make me enough money to cover 20 more movies, you know. Yeah. And so the state itself needs to play a role because it's part of our learning process, it's part of our culture or our cultural assertion and our cultural identity and pride. And so we need to do that part as well, look at it. And that's where, like Femi said, you need lawyers, you need accountants to add up the numbers, you need marketing people, you need distribution people, you need locations to distribute, you need platforms to distribute, whether it's VOD, whether it's movie theaters, whether it's on phones, on this or that. You need all that planned and executed. Without that, we may have the best actors, but it may be hard
to get there. So I want to do a quick rapid fire round here because there's a lot of young people who are actually now starting out their journey in the creative space. And there's a lot of things that we've all agreed with this half an hour, 1.5 hour conversation, that there's a lot of things that need reset and need change if we're going to unlock that investment that is needed. So my rapid fire round is, what are the things I need to put in my package, even for this pitch series, as a young creative? Do I need a business plan for a film, Yovi?
Wow, that's a tough one, because, you know, creativity and innovation almost go hand in hand. And very often there is no real template that you must follow for the theme of a movie. It's a difficult one. You can't just write it down that it must go from A to B to C to D. That's for a specific type of movies. There are movies that actually nobody even understands, but they end up enjoying because of how it's been threaded together. But the first thing is that, one, do I have a story? And that's where the storytelling bit is critical. Everybody loves a good story. Never mind the characters. They just love a good story. But by the way, the characters are part of the storytelling because they then act out the story in various ways that appeal to us. But storytelling is very important. Again, you know, you need to be able to tell a story, because if I'm a producer and you bring me your script, I read it and I say, where's the story? Like the Spider-Man case, you know, I'm not going to move. But if I see a story and I say, wow, there are producers who read books and says, this book must be a story I must tell on screen. But we are not even writing enough. In Ghana, at least Nigeria, they used to write a lot. I remember, you know, the Chinua Achebes, the Cyprian Quincy, I mean, and all those other people are way back. We also have our own Ayukwe Ama, and my old good friend who passed, Amate Few. You know, so all these, we have all these things, and we need to be pushing them. You can't even buy Ghana written books in our bookstores. We're not even discussing them significantly in our schools. In my time, we did literature, so we read some African books. Today, I don't think they do that. I don't think that if I go and I ask any of our kids, you know, Amata do, they'll probably say, who's that? I knew who she was by name because I had to read her book. Okay. That's how it begins.
I'm going to come back to you on the state side for a quick question. So, Juliet, a young filmmaker puts together a story, like if you just said, you have to have a story, you have to have a plan. But what else do I need to build that packaging for me to attract? I mean, you've done funding rounds, quote unquote, a couple of times during your career. How did you make that happen?
Hey, Rudy, the good thing about this question is that's exactly why we are here, which is the great thing. I mean, the NFA is here basically to address quite a number of these issues and to champion closing those gaps. I just want to reiterate that and bring us back to why we are here. The pitch series and being done by the NFA, we understand that people are not potentially where they need to be, and we will be kidding ourselves if we think that we are at the point where we need to be. We are all aware that we are not at that point. I mean, the issues about training, the issues about exposure, the issues about all of these issues we've brought up are very relevant issues. And to speak for Ghana, we initially did not have a body that championed that cause. And I'm happy to hear that, you know, when Cecil was talking, for instance, he mentioned that the case of copyright and that even the NFA is talking with them and looking at how can we move this together. And I mentioned earlier on that we are already even, looking at the court, and that conversation is far advanced. And so the NFA is here to champion that. I wanted to put that down because, you know, there may be some jitters that goes with this, with us thinking that, okay, we are at the point where we are about to sell, or we want to sell, or we are getting ready to sell, and yet there are all of these issues. So part of the focus of NFA is addressing these issues systematically, bringing the players to the table to address these issues and help fill in the gaps. It is with that insight that we've brought together the pitch series. And again, to reiterate, the pitch series itself is a process, it's not an event. It's something that we are going to be doing annually. And that is why we have the players at the table. And so if I sit here right now and I say to the filmmaker, go get an accountant, go get a lawyer, go get this, where are they going to find those people? Or how are they going to afford those services? And that is what the pitch series is focusing on. So the pitch series is bringing together exactly what you're asking, the conduits and the structures that we need in place, the players we need in place, the partners we need in place, the eyeballs we need in place, the people at the table. And then when we do that, we can do a number of things. We can identify those issues that we are addressing now or talking about now in a consistent and more deliberate way. And then we can come up with solutions that work, because, you know, you can take a market, you can even take a market like Nigeria that is very close to us and we share similar things. However, there are market dynamics that are different. If you look at even just the population size, if you look at the infrastructure, I mean, Nigeria, for instance, has had a film commission for a very, very long time. If you look at multi-choice and you look at the level of investment for multi-choice, you see that a high percentage of that really goes towards Nigeria and not Ghana. Are the players not in place? Are the systems not in place? Are the structures not in place? These are conversations that we need to have. And so for me, as the CEO of the National Film Authority, I just want to reiterate that most importantly, we are aware of these gaps, and that is why we are here. And the pitch series has been put in place specifically to help address some of those gaps and then some of the added issues that come together. And so I will use this platform to help filmmaker go do this and go do that and go do that, when exactly I know that the filmmaker, for instance, may not have access to a lawyer, and then I say go get a lawyer. It's up to us now to identify that that issue is there and then take steps to address it, and that is what the pitch series is focusing on.
Okay, so the people that have pitched already and or made submissions, what are the outcomes in terms of goals that at the end of the period they should expect to see of the pitch series?
Sorry. I think I need to make a point before you have that answered, so you don't create expectations that will not be met.
Yes.
Because I'm seeing from the comments that there's a lot of enthusiasm, there's a lot of interest going there, but we've outlined that there are several points in the whole value chain that need to connect before you get an industry going. But we can still do it. I mean, if you once again, I mean, I love history, although I'm not a great historian. If you look at the history of Hollywood, how did Hollywood come about? It was because independent film producers ran away from New York and everything, and they're trying to battle what they call the Edison Trust, which was trying to narrow their powers, etc., etc. So they all ran away to Hollywood. But also, I mean, Hollywood itself was a great place to make movies because they had different weather, you know, and it was always warm and stuff. And people gradually gravitated. The independents built it and built that infrastructure. The problem we have is, I am not sure that we have a critical mass of line producers, line directors who can convince an executive director that, oh, I have a great plan that will work out. I mean, making movies is very much like any.
So actually, we do. If I may interrupt briefly, we actually do.
So why don't we have great movies coming out?
Well, because some of those structures are not in place, which is why the pitch series is here to address some of that. And so, yes, you have them scattered. You don't have other structures or infrastructure, or you don't even have the platform that brings the two together. We don't have a connecting dot, and that is what we are trying to do with this pitch series. And so, yes, I mean, I can take you back to even some of the projects that have happened lately around the continent and in Ghana. Even Ghana, as we are speaking now, there's a project that is just about making waves. The Beyonce project like this, you had Ghanaians contribute to it. You have other things that Ghanaians contribute to. If you go historically, Ghanaians have always been doing things internationally, breaking grounds. As we speak right now, the new marketing director of Netflix is actually a Ghanaian. But then you have all of these scattered efforts. And what we are trying to do now is to bring everybody together to the table to have a conversation and address these gaps that are there. Because true, if I come to you as an investor and I have a great project, but you know, I haven't copyrighted that, or I haven't gone forward to do other things, so I can't show you a return on investment, i.e. having a distribution buy-in or platform buy-in, you may doubt that you will get your return on investment. But if I'm able to talk to someone like Cecil, And he can say to me, okay, if you do this project, I will take it on, and Cecil has a certain audience that I can prove to you. Then I come to you, and then we can have a conversation, because I've seen to other aspects of it. If I don't package my content well, like Femi was talking about content and the sell, I may have a great content, but like you yourself said, sometimes it's not even about the content by the person, the content, but the person who is selling it. So I need to even be able to present myself to you in a way that you are confident enough to believe that if you invest in me, you will get your money back. And so I would argue that, yes, there are those gaps, but and if you look at the Ghanaian market, let's be mindful that there are different levels of readiness. There are the people, maybe they are not many, and the pitch series is definitely not looking to grant access to people who are not ready. We are going to do several things. Those who are ready, maybe they are ready to talk to investors today and tomorrow. And then there are those people who need guidance and they need packaging and all of that. And all of those things are the part of the attributes of the pitch series and part of what we are doing.
I would agree with you, Juliet, that yes, maybe technically they do exist, but I'll just throw a few examples to you. In Ghana, we've had filmmakers like Shirley Repon Manso, Ejako, and Lil Wayne, etc., etc. They may not be big Hollywood type Ghana screen
Lil
players.
Wayne and Ejako are actors, yes. Producer, Shirley is a producer, yes.
Yes, and I put those two together and I says, okay, so, and I watch from afar and I've realized that, well, I mean, these guys are somewhere in Kumasi or somewhere making these movies, which has great appeal. But we didn't see them elevate it or get anywhere because they probably didn't get people to say, oh, let me put 1 million CDs behind these people and create a series out of them. That is what I'm saying. You have the actors there. We don't doubt that. There are great actors here. There's great content, but I don't see the other people who would make it happen for them to happen because we don't have the money backing them. Even Shirley Frimpomas is a producer. Does she have a big money ticket behind it? Say, I'll support what you do. I doubt. And so she made some.
Why we're here.
They've fizzled out. They've sort of fizzled out.
Which is why
we're here. And I think that those are the ones we should probably build on. And I posited that it's not the work of any regulatory body, but usually the industry itself can build it.
Okay.
There are actors guilds who come out and make their own laws and says, this is how we're going to go about it. And before you realize, that becomes the standard. And it's going, and they support each other, and they build an industry. It happened in India. I know it's happened in Nigeria. It happened in Hollywood. By the way, Hollywood's first movie came out when? 1910. Way after India, and maybe even Nigeria, long after. But we haven't grown it.
If I can say,
if I may just say this, the good thing, Yofi, is that these examples that you give right now as you are making your points, if you go back into history, you actually see that some of these people, one would say, were people you may not have looked at until an investor said, I will give this person an opportunity. And so I just want to step back a little bit and from where I'm standing and sitting and saying that there are people who have the ideas. There are people, for instance, if you look at a profile of Netflix investment over Africa, I don't think that the fact that Netflix is not investing in Ghana significantly means that there aren't enough stories or people of equal stature. I would just say that it may be a problem of platform, opportunities, structures, and all of that, and bringing that person to your attention. And so I sit here looking at the projects that have already submitted, and I can say to you, and if I'm speaking to you as an investor, I can say to you, Yofi, that there is that person right now as we are speaking who is ready for your money if you're ready to give that money. We promised you that.
I can show that. I have done my bit. I actually traveled to California to look for these guys, and maybe I should put it here. It's a company called Stone Creek PLC. They are a private equity group who were instrumental in setting up Disneyland and a couple of other Hollywood enterprises. And I convinced them that Ghana was a great place to come and put your money if you wanted to develop film. I mean, they asked, what about Nigeria? I say, yeah, it's a big market. Ghana is small, it's not as unwieldy. Come to Ghana, set it up, and you might even attract Nigerian filmmakers to come and do it here for whatever reasons there are. So yes, I think we are moving forward. And at GIPC, I certainly believe that filmmaking is a major, major part of our culture and our conscientization that we need to really rally around and push. And there's no better time than now, after what we've seen as Black Lives Matter, to elevate that to the highest possible pitch. But before we do that too, we need to be sure that the industry itself is pulling itself up. It's not just that we set in the structure and it doesn't happen. We need the actors, we need acting school. When I was in Legon as a student, I used to go watch drama almost every weekend. These days I don't go anymore because after a while it just fizzled out. But that was a great, opportunity to build it up. And as for a great movie, what you really need for a great movie is a movie that touches hearts and people's feelings.
Yes.
It may not be technically perfect.
We've got a slew of
and I just want to use the opportunity quickly, Rudy, to make a point that myself and Yofi, we've been having this banter for a while. In fact, I remember when Yofi became the new CEO of GIPC. At that time, I wasn't in this position, but I paid him a visit. And I said to Yofi, we are a business, but film is a business and you should invest in that business. And Yofi said to me, and I remember very clearly, if I'm selling drugs, as in pharmaceutical, there's a product. You need to show me, Juliet, you need to show me that you have a product. And I'm just painting that picture because we've moved a long way from that time when we had that conversation. And Yofi may have been, in a way, a representative of the general investment outlook out there. And the fact that we are at the point today where we have Yofi and the Ghana Investment Promotion Center as part of this project just shows you how far we've come. And that the investment community is even ready right now to look at these projects and potentially see a very high return on their investment. I think I want to take the opportunity to make that point that we've come a long way, Yofi, and we are going to go even further. I'm happy that GIPC believes in this project and believes in the opportunity of investment for the project.
Okay, I think, Julia, you should probably continue and give us what's the next step in the pitch series with all the entries that you've received so far. Is there an investor matching and what do you call it, a pitch that's going to happen? What's the next step for all the entries that you've received so far?
So the next step, and I'm happy that, with all the partners on this conference, the next step really, first of all, let me clarify that this is an annual project. And so every year, we will pick a certain number of projects. And Femi mentioned when he was talking earlier, for us, we are not looking to potentially sell everyone. We are looking to sell those who are ready, and then we would help those who are not ready to get to the point where they are ready. And so the next phase, we've closed submissions. And so there's a committee. The committee's profile is very broad, representative of the partners we have and beyond. And the committee is going to sit down, and I'm happy that your office, Investment Promotion Center, has about 2 representatives on that committee. And so the committee will then look through, and we would select those who will make it through for this year. Those who will not make it through, we will, work on them and prepare them, and hopefully they can apply. So those who make it through would then go through several workshops, and that is where, again, Femi's position becomes very critical, because you may have content, but you need to understand what that content is and how to sell it. And so we would give you that workshop or training, if you want to call it as such, And you will get the training from the content perspective, which is the talent factory perspective. And then we would also have some workshop training from the investors perspective. And that's where GIPC comes in. So after we've done all of that, the selected projects would then present to, if you may, the world. And that world will be a world of investors, it will be a world of broadcasters, it will be, so somewhere, that's where someone like Cecil at that point, that's where he comes in. So for instance, DSTV may decide that, you know what, we love project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we want to take it. If not, there are other platforms that may say we want this. There are other broadcasters apart from pay TV. They're also free to air TV. There are people who are pitching series. There are people who are pitching other things. There are even people who are pitching games. And so maybe MTN says, hey, we want to invest in this, you know, but at the end of the day, those projects that we select, by the time we are done with year 1, those projects should hit market and be ready to go. So that's the path generally for those who make it through. And those who do not make it through, hopefully will go get better. We would give them the support we can. And whilst we are doing all of this, I must emphasize and give some comfort that at the same time, we'll be working at the structures and the gaps that we've all identified, which are critical. I'm by no means putting down the relevance or importance of those gaps. All I'm saying is that this is a clear road forward and we are taking that path and we're excited about that, and there's opportunity and it gives us a focus to even target and work on those problems in a constructive and deliberate way.
Okay, so
just to add a little bit in support of what Julie just said, and I think it's something that is definitely not lost on government. I know that the current government is looking at putting a number of centers across the country. I know there's one being built in Koforidua, there's one going to be a major one going to be built in Kumasi, which would be an arts and culture center that would have an educative feature along with it to help rising stars in arts and culture. And then, of course, for us as GIPC, the fact that we've been able to attract interest to have a major world group actually consider that is going to build a film theater, a state-of-the-art film theater in Ghana for the rest of the continent is important in the steps going forward. We just have to keep doing what we're doing, do it better, do it stronger, and work at all the little bits in the value chain. It just can't be the studios and that. We need to keep looking at the law. We need to keep looking at the financing. We need also to look at the education bit of it, training people for theater, for film, etc., etc. I mean, we don't have theater now like we used to have 20 years ago because we probably don't have an art center that's active. People used to go to the art center almost every weekend. But all those are components that we need to keep pushing up. And I believe that the market itself will start demanding as we put out more and more.
Okay, I'm just going to move straight into questions that are coming from, and Yofi, I think this one goes to you. Kojo Kisi says the conversation keeps looking at foreign investments and have not, it looks like we haven't convinced our own enough to believe in us to generate the funding within. Considering the revenue various industries collectively mobilize annually in Ghana, should foreign money always be the solution? What do we do to get local money into the space?
You know, very interesting question. And people always say, should it be foreign money? I mean, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. We need to accept that. If you want to do a movie that costs $50 million to produce, I will be stretched to find Ghanaians who put together $50 million just for a movie, which is untested. Like they say, making a movie is like gold mining. You might dig, find great gold. You might dig, and get nothing. And so there's a lot of risk capital that goes into movies. I mean, recently I was looking at a site that showed a whole number of movies that had big budgets but didn't make it anywhere for various reasons. So it's not that, and it's not limited to foreign. We're not saying foreign capital is going to be the solution for it. It's definitely would help. I'll be happy if I heard that a Ghanaian was building a major film studio in Ghana, but I haven't heard. So somebody from Los Angeles comes, California comes and says, oh, guess what? I think it would be great to build a great studio in Ghana. Well, I'll say no. I won't say no. I'll say yes, because I know that it will employ Ghanaians. It will teach us how they've done the things they've been successful. We'll also be successful. And it will maybe even motivate Ghanaians with a bit of money to say, hey, maybe that's where real returns come. In the movie theater, we have a great theater. We are creating a platform. Maybe that's where I should put the money there. But it's difficult. When the capital is not there to do that, it's very difficult to say that, well, so if it comes from elsewhere, I shouldn't do. And by the way, people have a great misunderstanding of who a foreign investor is. It's not every foreign investor who comes and dictates that I have to do things to suit me. Most investors globally look for opportunity. Whether they are selling what you have naturally or whether they bring, they are looking for that opportunity to make money. It's just the same as if I am a Ghanaian and I go to Togo and I see a great Togolese opportunity that I can make money out of. I will, or I should. So it's not about the character that foreign money means that is going to dictate to us how the industry should go. No, they see most investors see opportunity and says, how can I get this opportunity, make some money, grow, and let it be sustainable? It's no different from any other industry in the film industry, except that the film industry, a lot of it is risk capital, because you might, like I said, you might make a movie that you think is great. The market, maybe there's something else that's the flavor of the month, will not see it as great. Okay. So, it's great we can get Ghanaians invest in the movie theater, invest in our own, and we have. I mean, the days of Koansa, etc., they raise money to make movies. I think Juliet herself raised some money to make some movies. She was cast in a movie that was funded from outside. Is that correct? And it was good. That's how I first got to know her, because she was in a movie that was funded by. But I got to know her. She's a Ghanaian. I was happy. I was proud. When we see Boris Kujo and other people in other movies, we are happy. So we shouldn't, straight jacket our minds to think that it's always about exploitation. Sometimes it's just opportunity and utilizing that opportunity for a bigger platform.
I think Abe Kusego and Gloria, you just did a triple run. Your questions actually have been answered in a single answer. A single answer. Yes. There's a question for Cecil. It says availability of content may not be an issue, from Abeku again. The lack of marketing opportunities looks like it. How do we create the market? Because we have a population of 30 million, which is enough to provide a good market. And how do we convert that into the creative, like a creative economy?
Okay, so usually in the acquisition conversations, when you're acquiring content from somebody who owns it, okay, well, talking on our side, we actually also promote it on our platforms. But this would jettison as a response to your question, and also look at some aspect that Yofi spoke about. Yes. When it comes to, if you look at the old model of, and I mentioned cinema, and I keep mentioning cinema, you can build one fantastic unit that will take 50,000 people and review in a location. But in the cinema trick, if you look at what happened in Nigeria, the moment you get a spread of cinemas, and I keep saying minimum of 2 a region, say maybe 3, or every district capital gets 1 cinema. Remember that a cinema serves other purposes. Okay, that's structure. So if you can run movies and you have, say, 20, 25 cinemas and running on 1 movie, okay, a lot of local revenue potential is tapped. Now, this definitely comes automatically, it starts to come with some marketing based on the person who acquires. So usually when they're acquiring it, we will ask, or the person would ask for elements for marketing. Because if I'm acquiring it and I cannot market it, I will not also make the return that I'm giving. So this is usually tied in, and it's a major part of the conversation that we need to have. But I'm saying that with investors, okay, we should also not look at it's good to have the big studio, or the main one, which is great. But we should look at how we can torpedo this across country, because there's an appetite for that consumption once the facilities are, and it's very key for us to get the cycle going. Well, post-COVID or within COVID, that's my only factor that I see. Because if you take 1 movie that runs for 3 weeks across 25 cinemas, Rudy, you can do the maths. And you see, even if people are paying 5 or 8 CDs to watch that movie, be it Lil Wayne or a Shirley movie based on the rate, you find that within a couple of runs, there is some revenue base. And this is, I'm talking about things that we can actually do, you know, as quickly as we can locally.
I see also to help the answer, I just quickly checked online to see how many producing companies are in Ghana. And on the net, Google, they actually listed 24. Now, I don't know any of them. And it just shows that maybe some of us have closed our eyes to some of these opportunities. But there are 24 film producing companies.
We actually engage with some of them from time to time. Because we're in the industry, we actually work closely with these producers, etc. And normally it has to be here. There's actually been a trend over the years where we are consuming more local. It's going up. We tend to focus on that. So you would find that, look at the number of local content channels that MultiChoice has introduced. Find us Rock 3, we're looking ahead into further expansion. And then when you look at in the East, in Kenya, they've got Maisha Magic, they've got Maisha Bongo. So although in Africa Magic, now the local is beginning to trend. And when you look at even the viewership of local, it keeps growing. So we're consuming more. So there's also the focus to strengthen the local, because the local is the future. And you feel like there's one thing you said, this is our time. This is a time for Africa to tell our story. Nobody can tell the African story. We are the only people who can tell it. No other person. But if we create it and package it ourselves, okay, it is a huge market now for anything authentic and African than ever has been.
Wow, this is serious. So there's a big, it's not a question, it was a comment which I picked up. I wanted to come to Juliet with that. I mean, the pitch series has created something non-precedented, which is to shine light and actually try and organize the creative space to send it to investors. But there's one other thing that is being said, that big projects tend to happen in Ghana and nobody hears about it. In fact, if you don't go and read the credit lines, you would never probably realize that parts of this movie was shot here. All you hear is this actor came here, he was down the coast, somehow they flew back, but they were actually not that. They came to shoot something that we don't get credit for. Is there something that you're putting in place as part of the next step post the pitch series to start to amplify some of the gains that the industry already has?
Rudy, if that question is targeted at me, very good question. Yes, yes, yes. In fact, I was going to make the point that, first of all, before I answer that question, let me just clarify that, yes, we are not just looking at foreign investors. In fact, someone like Cecil being a partner, as in MultiChoice being a partner, attests to that, both as an investor and as a broadcaster. And so we are looking at, even when it comes to television networks, we are also speaking to local networks. For instance, one of the organizations that was invited to this is JIBA, which is the Association of Independent Broadcasters. So, so yes, we are definitely looking at local investments. The investors, people who are here, who are big investors that we've spoken to as NFA, and they're already interested to plug in. Now, straight to your point, I just also wanted to make the point that, the pitch series is just one of the things that we're doing. If you read our strategy, you would see that within the strategy, there are quite a number of things we are looking to achieve. Pitch series is just to address one of those issues, which is what we are doing. And that issue basically is creating a bridge or a platform that connects the players down the value chain. And that is what it's about. Now, to even help that move forward, if you look at the questions that have come in, some people have mentioned things like tax rebates. We've spoken about policy, the role of policy. You just spoke about marketing and even people knowing about projects that originate from Ghana. All of those things are gaps, and we do have projects that are targeted at those things. I would hesitate to expand the pitch series too much, because the pitch series is a targeted intervention. And we've made what that target is very clearly. But with time, we would release other things. For instance, our website is now online, so anybody who hasn't visited the website should do so, www.nfa.gov.gh. And you can even have a look at some of the projects that we have planned. As the project comes online, we will highlight it, and more information about that will be put out there. Even with the website, there are several parts to the website. We've just developed one part of the website. We are looking at another part of the website that is targeted solely at highlighting content that comes out of Ghana, giving those contents, you know, leg to walk. And so, yes, we will be looking at the tax part of things, the tax rebates. I'm happy that we are having this conversation, and this has come up very, very well. If you look at countries that have done well, and states, for instance, I think 2 years ago, Atlanta, for instance, made over 10 billion from film, just one state. And they did that by putting in place tax incentives and taking some specific deliberate actions. If you come to Africa, you can talk about a country like Morocco and some of the steps that they've taken. Morocco is now offering about 28% tax rebate. South Africa is offering between, if I have my numbers right, between 20 to 30%, to even in some instances, 50% tax rebate. I know that Nigeria may not have gone down the line of tax rebates, but there are other things that Nigeria is actively doing, and we need to do same, because this is a very competitive arena that we are in. And so, yes, we need to tackle those things, but it will take time, and we need to start from somewhere. And the most important place we need to start with is even alerting people and conscientizing people to the fact that this is a business, both from the player, from the point of view of the onlooker, to the player himself and herself. If I'm a filmmaker and I'm a creative person, before I start the process, I need to recognize that I need a market, I need an audience, I need to package myself. There's certain things that needs to be at the forefront of my mind, even as a creative person. Because when I write a story, I'm writing for someone. I cannot write in a vacuum. So whether it's raising the awareness of the filmmaker, raising the expertise and capacities of the filmmaker, putting in place infrastructures and structures, looking at policy and all of those things, those are very broad areas that we are looking at. And the pitch series is just intended to target one, and that's what we are doing now.
Jerry Wonder is a firecracker on the chat, please. He says Exim Bank's 10 million Ghana CD support for the arts is not working. So why can't a part of the 9 million grant from the World Bank be used to help film?
We are not saying that it won't. Again, we are not saying that it won't. We are saying that there's a place, you know, one project can be $10 million. Do you know that? And you can come across so many projects. Even within the pitch, we have people that have pitched. There's this particular project that is, I think, 50 million. They're pitching for 50 million. And so, you know, there's room. If you look at the investment palette, there's various ways of investment. There's equity investments, there's loan. There are many places you can get money from. You can get grants. Other countries do very well with grants. Even that conversation of grants, we have to go into it. So we are going to be looking at all of those aspects. I mean, all the projects we need, even if World Bank gave us the $10 million, just one project can take that $10 million. So I would throw it back to you and say that we do need more than $10 million for your information. And so that is there. We know that is there. We are putting ourselves together, and the right projects, we would package the right projects for that. But we need way more than that, and that's what we are doing.
Okay. Now, a question from, it seems like a foreign investor. It says, my name is Georges Williams. I'm an investor looking to invest in African film productions and distributions. I'd like to know if Ghana has some facilities to support investors by facilitating a foreign company's implementation and investment in Ghana, and what types of legal and administrative facilities exist in Ghana for foreign investors in entertainment. Georges, I think I'll take your email and probably pass it on to Juliet, because this is a long one.
Exactly.
And maybe to me,
Yeah.
I can help you
Summary,
there.
yeah. In summary, maybe Yofi, just a quick overview for him. But yeah, I think this one needs to be addressed properly.
Okay, I mean, to be frank and honest and as blunt as possible, which I usually am, unfortunately, we haven't seen development of the arts as a strategic and critical element of the economic development. And so, whilst the opportunity has been there haven't been enough incentives for that. And right now, we are in the process of reviewing to see how we can actually incentivize it, because, like I said, it's been recognized more than tacitly that, you know, the film and arts and culture is a component, is part of the soft infrastructure of a country's fabric. And so we need to make sure that it also grows along with national pride, et cetera, et cetera. So whilst we didn't have incentives and all that for specific to that sector, we are now looking at it. What I can tell you is that if you are bringing in equipment to do your movies, et cetera, you can actually bring them in duty free, so far as you are taking them back out and not going to sell them here. So, you know, we have those little bits, and we are now looking at it comprehensively. We'll do that with Juliet, and we've had conversations with the Ministry of Finance, who's strongly on board to ensure that we create a vibrant arts and culture, you know, industry in Ghana.
That's interesting. And somebody, Eugene Odami, just posted that, why are we not talking about local partnerships like the 24 film company, producing companies that you just discovered on the internet, pooling resources together to produce rather than looking at individual productions? So probably this is like an industrial deal where everybody brings what they are great at into a single space.
I think, Rudy, I think working together is important. We've reiterated that over and over again, that people need to work together. I mean, interestingly, I think about last year, I saw this advertisement where a production company that has equipment was making a call out to other productions and saying, come for equipment and we would have equity share in your product. Of course, to enable such things, you need proper documentation, you need lawyers, you know, all the things that help people to partner well so the partnerships don't fall apart. Part of what we are pushing is co-productions and collaborations. And so, you know, it's part of our core business, yes. So let's not say that we are not pushing that. We are certainly pushing that. We encourage that. And in fact, in one of our projects, the demand, I won't talk about that much because we are not there yet, but the demand of that project is that several people come together and pitch as a team. So just to give comfort, we are thinking through all of that, and it's all captured in our strategy. In fact, based on this conversation, I think anyone who joined this conversation who may be interested in accessing the strategy, the broad strategy of NFA, can send us a mail. If you're interested even in remaining in touch and hearing more, you can go to our website and send in, you go to, I think, learn about us or stay in touch or something, and we'll send you some information and you can have a broader view of what the overall strategy is, so that, you know, we understand that this is just a targeted conversation, but all of those things are definitely in the works.
Okay.
Just to add to what Julian said, but I have a totally different view. You know, and I keep going back to the point that filmmaking is a business, unless you are commissioned to do it for some specific reason. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are more than 24 production companies in Ghana. They are not obligated to work together. Indeed, I'm sure the filmmakers here will tell you, in most big screen movies or big movies, it's teams. Different teams do different things. There might be one doing audio, there might be one just doing the filming. There's another company that is in charge of costume. There's another company that's in charge of transport. There's another company that's in charge of, accommodation. So it's different parties that usually come together. I doubt if there's any film, if any studio, even in Hollywood, it's not. That's why Hollywood was made by independent filmmakers. They all come together. There's a movie, and then there's a producer. He goes around and puts the different teams, the most appropriate teams. Even sometimes that's the casting to say, this is the kind of actor we want or actress we want. And it's not up to the filmmaker or the writer, to decide who the star will be. Some will look at it and some will say, well, I don't think this guy, for this reason, he'll fit this role. We know of this other guy. And that's why they typecast people. So there are different components that come together. And there are different types and sizes of movies. Some may be little, some may be even animations, small animations for TV, that a small back room, one person can sit behind a computer and do. It wouldn't require much investment. Maybe his only investment may be to place it to a studio that will charge for content. So, there are different models that work. When we talk of film, we should only talk of the big budget potential blockbuster. There are different levels and requiring different teams and different structures.
And a quick follow-up to that, Kojo Kusi says, what's the plan to tap into the AFTA policy and move our production products beyond the 30 million market? Is that something we should be looking at?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when people make movies, they search for the biggest audiences or biggest platform, because that's how they make their money. And that's what Juliet was talking about, distribution. And so, I mean, I know a couple of lawyers who are pretty strong looking at distributing Ghanaian music. And maybe it might be an opportunity for somebody else to say, okay, well, yeah, let me look for Ghanaian content and distribute it. And that's another business opportunity altogether. I think we are too used to centralized things, so we don't see the opportunity in the value chain. It's not, government doesn't have to do a thing. Somebody can see it as a business opportunity and take it up and run. But government may decide that, well, let's see, how do we also create a platform where we can elevate our movies to the African continent using CFTA. The CFTA has many protocols in there, origin of goods, origin of services, that we can take advantage of and send our things outside there. But bear in mind, the actual facilitation and production and execution better lies in the private sector than having governments, take control, and then very soon you find gagging and censorships and all these things coming. We don't want that. And once again, the story of Hollywood is a very good example of how the industry developed.
Built itself. Well, So Fresh, Cyril from So Fresh just posted something interesting. Says,
and if I may just add, Rudy, if I may just add briefly to the point that Yofi made, I think it's important that we underline this conversation with the intent to do business together and to do business within ourselves. And so if Ghanaians cannot sell Ghanaian content to Ghanaians, and if Ghanaians cannot sell Ghanaian content to Africans, first of all, let's not even go totally to Africans, to West Africans. Just 45 minutes from us, as Femi will tell you, it's a big market. Nigeria is a big market. I would love for the biggest market of Ghanaian films to be Nigeria. And Nigeria should also, even though Ghana is not such a big market, Nigeria should also look at making Ghana a primary market. And then within that space, there's so much we can collaborate. If just Ghana and Nigeria work together very, very closely and aligned, I think that even within us, we would, even when it comes to attracting investment, we'll probably have the kind of critical mass come together that would form a tipping point for us. So most importantly, even as we package ourselves to go internationally, from the level of creativity to the level of investors to all those levels, first of all, let's look internally into Ghana, what can we do together, and then West Africa, and then the rest of Africa, and then we think about the world. Because, you know, I shot my film, for instance, in 2 countries, and I casted from 5 countries, and you will look at one scene in Ghana and the continuation is in South Africa, and you can't tell the difference. When it comes to languages, I mean, of course, there's slight difference in tune and everything and all of that. But, you know, the Ghanaian can understand the Nigerian understands the Ghanaian, understands the Kenyan, South African, and all of that. So I think that underlining this and everything that is going on, including the free trade thing you mentioned, including Black Lives Matter, let's keep in mind that Africans need to sell to Africans first. And after we've done that, then selling to the rest of the world is just a matter of course. And that really, it should be one of the things that underlines whatever effort we are looking into, whether it's training, whatever opportunities, let's look within ourselves, because really we have what it takes to succeed internally.
Okay, now Femi, please warm up. I'm coming to you, but let me read Cyril's comment to the statement. It says, the NFA needs to look at institutions like the New York City Mayor's Office Media and Entertainment as a business model to elevate the business prospects of film content. As Yofi said, film and content is all about business and money, and the film is a byproduct. Once we get the growth, once we get this growth, the growth will happen rapidly, which is, I thought that was a powerful statement to make that. I mean, we need the fuel, which is the investment, but once we get it, if we have an institution and we put a framework together, we'll be able to actually run. Now, Femi, looking at the review of traveling the continent and, you know, this putting together this talent factory and some of the pitches that are coming to you in the workshop, what are the key things that you'd want, the learnings that you'd want the people that gets the chance to move to the next stage to meet you, to pick out for their projects?
Well, the key thing with every pitch is to understand that everybody's come there with a story. So your audit of what you're bringing to the table is before, not during the pitch. You need to understand that the pitches that the pitch that wins will have an X factor, will have something about it that others do not. And for me, I call that X factor the untold story. There's the scourge of storytelling, especially among young people, is often, you know, regurgitation. The fact that they're confronted with so much information, so many channels of watching other people's stories, that when they do create, they tend to create from a subconscious where they're coupling together stuff that's already been out there. There are many spaces to look for that originality, the capacity to be original, the capacity to be authentic, is for me the first X factor. Obviously, you also need to be able to understand how to bring an energy to your presentation that allows the people that are listening to you to get as excited about your project as you are. And the way to do that is to create, you know, a visual thing in their mind where you can begin to have references. What kinds of films are out there that have done well that you hope your film will look like? And that's also, you know, part of the process of a pitch. But the most important thing for me in a pitch is a value for money proposition. You have to be able to say, to who are you telling this story? What kind of audiences are looking at this story? If you've got data, it really is very helpful, because at the end of the day, it's not just that you are telling the story, it's that there will be an audience to hear, to listen to this story, to buy this story. And that's really what we try to teach our students. Our students pitch to the commissioning team at MultiChoice. And we're very excited because we've created that as part of their learning process. We've created the pitch and learning how to pitch, you know, as part of their graduate, you know, their curriculum. And we're very excited because they've successfully done so in Lagos for the West Africa hub. They've done so in Kenya for the East African hub and as well in Zambia. So, you know, this is what I think this process seeks to institutionalize in the industry. And Multi-Choice Talent Factory is obviously excited to be a part of it, to try as much as possible to open up the information to as many filmmakers as possible about how to package and sell that which you've created.
Beautiful answer. Before I take your final submissions, I just want to give all our global viewers a taste of what is in store for them. Obviously, these are crazy times. This is a message from the National Film Authority that I want us all to pay attention to. We'll be back with our final submissions, and then we can call it a day.
Ghana is a beautiful.
I'm sorry, your mic is off.
Would have done if I were on radio or TV. I said, and we are back from the commercial break. No, there's no commercial break. But on behalf of Yofi, I think that, Julian, that's an amazing shot. I think the GIPC probably wants it as part of their marketing package that goes out there. I've spoken for you, sir. You're doing business already.
Yes, we are. We're in business. We have a whole range of a host of them that markets Ghana. It's unfortunate that we didn't get to actually show them there. And some of them are beautiful. Our tagline today is "Grow with Ghana and Grow in Ghana." You can't get it wrong. So
grow with Ghana and grow in Ghana.
Yeah. So I'm telling Femi that you can come and grow your film industry in Ghana for the Nigerian market, and for DSTV and Multi-Choice and all, we can grow that market here.
So, our attentive pitch audience who submitted their projects, obviously they've gone through the process. They've come to this precipice of when the submissions have been made. I understand that over 100 submissions were actually received, with projects ranging from up to about $5 million in funding being sought, which means some big thinkers in there. And I love that space. I love the thinking that people are thinking even really big. Now, as you are all on this project and going to sift through to see who we take next, what would be the advice that you would give prospective submissions that will be coming next year, those who've submitted now? And obviously, if you don't win, what does it mean for you? What can I do next to come back again and compete? I want each of my guests to actually give a submission to the creative talents that made the submissions. So we start off with Cecil.
Thanks. I think it's a unique opportunity that the NFA has put together, and I think it makes it a lot more simpler, and it creates the support. And I think it's the beginning of exactly what Yofi is talking about. We're trying to streamline things and bring all the resources together to make it easier for such submissions. And I wish all you guys all the best. This will not be the first, as Juliet has said. So every year we'll look at submissions. And of course, multi-choice would definitely be interested in seeing what goes on there and see pick other people that we can actually work with and help to promote what we have in Ghana. Thank you.
Awesome. So Yofi, what will be your submission, please?
I think we have a great and unique opportunity and a huge window of opportunity as well now as Africans, as Nigerians, as Ghanaians, as Ivorians, South Africans, East Africans, and North Africans to reassert the continent as a major player in the globe in many aspects, including culture and history. I mean, the cultural diversity in Africa is such a great opportunity for film and film, music, art, and all. I mean, and we need to work at it. We need to work at it consciously. We have a great number of writers who have written books. Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, Ikweama, so many of them. Nakib Mahfouz, Osman Semben, across the continent. And that is supposed to be what is going to motivate us to go to the next step and the next level in the arts and culture. Yes, it is a business, but it is also in us. As Africans, we live with drama. We love our drama, our language, our mannerisms. I kept telling somebody, you haven't seen drama till you annoy a bona fide Yoruba person in the marketplace. So next time you be careful. I say that because I have a bit of Nigerian blood in me somewhere in my lineage. And you see, so it's us. We have color. We have talent, we have numbers. By 2050, we'll be 1/4 of the world's population. This is the time for us to start asserting that authority and feeding the world with many things, including our culture, our arts, our movies, and all. And I think the world is ready for it.
Awesome. So, and next to you, Femi.
One word. I think it's important that word, and it applies to those who are part of the pitching process and obviously as well the film authority. The word is collaboration. It's going to be absolutely impossible to do anything big in the filmic creative space by yourself. This I say to our students at the Multi-Choice Talent Factory all the time. Your chances of bringing a great story to its best potential lies in finding all the best people that can come to it. And if you can create a team where everybody feels a sense of ownership, so much comes to the table. It also creates trust from those who wish to invest, because they know if one person isn't functioning optimally, there will be others in the team who can keep carrying the flag. And for the Film Authority, I want to say, thank you for thinking of this. This is so important for all our young filmmakers, especially selfishly for 8 of my students who work in Ghana, who are looking for opportunity, who are looking for a chance to show their own potential. And I really think one of the things that collaboratively you should also look at is a working partnership with Nigeria in terms of a film treaty, some measure of a formal working film treaty. It's strange to me that Nigeria and Ghana often sound like they're competing, when in fact, what they're looking is that if you put their audiences together, they are the only English-speaking countries in West Africa of any note. And if you were to put their audiences together, massive things can happen. Juliet knows when I was going to start Tinsel with my team, I came to Ghana and I got stars out of Ghana who became stars on Tinsel, and they were critical to how the series began. Today, that series is still running some 10 years after, 2,700 episodes after. And the reason that is possible is because they brought a flavor to it that we didn't have here. They created an audience for it, both in Nigeria and in Ghana. Everything about what we are doing is about the audiences. It's never about us, the storyteller. It's about what stories the audiences will embrace. And that is the success of Nollywood. Nollywood is successful, not because of its filmmakers as much as because of its audiences. Nollywood figured out what the audience was looking for, and the audience embraced it. And because they embraced it through its period of growth, from when it wasn't so technically great to now that it's improved remarkably. And that to me has to be the same focus, that collaboration is the key to everything that we're talking about here today. Thank you.
Awesome comment. And Cosby just actually amplified it. Says, thank you, Femi. Fantastic closing point. For any big project, we need collaboration. It sounds like 3 times right there. So just before, obviously, the CEO of the National Film Authority has the final say on this, I'd like to actually thank Trigmatic, whose song was actually synced with the webinar promo. Beautiful track, and thank you for licensing us and allowing us to actually use that. And that's part of the value in the ecosystem that we've been talking about. You know, musicians make music, they start to get into film scores, we travel the same route and we spread it. No, I cannot fathom the amount of songs I've had to use Shazam for when I heard it in a movie or I heard it in a series. That's actually how sometimes you discover great music. So film has a massive platform that touches on the entire ecosystem. Our visuals have a massive platform that touches on the entire creative ecosystem. Anyway, so Juliet, we are your audience. Please, your closing comments.
Well, first of all, I want to go back to what Femi said and amplify everything he said, including what everyone said as their closing remarks. But I want to specifically amplify what Femi said at the end, because it holds the key, really, in a lot of ways to moving forward. I think the good thing about my position specifically is that I've been doing this for a long time. And some of the advocacy really that the NFA is pushing now is there are things that I've been pushing in my own private capacity. Even as the president of the Black Star International Film Festival last year, the festival invited the film commissioner of Nigeria and myself. I remember last year, the film commissioner, and Dr. Idi, who is the deputy at the ministry, our mother ministry, tourism, arts and culture. And we already had an initial conversation about the film treaty. And that is something that personally I'm picking up myself. And I'm happy that Femi brought that up again, because it's really a shame that there isn't more going on between Ghana and Nigeria. And I will call Femi himself on that. Yes, Femi, when you started Tinso, yes, you came to Ghana, and I remember I was a key part of that, and actually was the producer that brought on the Ghanaian aspects of Tinso, and look at how far it went. So collaboration really is it. We cannot reiterate that enough. And even to make someone like you feel comfortable, if say you're a Ghanaian project and you happen to bring Nigerians on in a great way, immediately that opens up a market of what, 250 million or more? Which investor looking at that kind of market wouldn't want to put their money down or see a good return on investment? So yes, we are working on all of that. I think that it's important to reiterate to all filmmakers listening to this project that we need to work together. Beyond working amongst yourself and all of that, you also need to work with the NFA to take us where we need to go. It's a shared effort, shared collaboration. We are committed, the entire NFA. And when I say the entire NFA, the good thing about NFA is that from the board to management to everyone, I would say that 90% of the team are ourselves filmmakers of some sort or in the value chain of some sort. And everyone is committed towards working to move this forward. Speaking from the side of government and having conversations, I think is a unique point that we are in the history of the country, where we also have a government that is committed to moving our interests forward. However, to enable that, we ourselves need to do some serious work. Serious work, fine, on the part of NFA, we're doing that, but serious individual work as well. We all need to plug in. That time where it's me alone doing what I want to do alone, I think that time is long gone. I want to take the opportunity to thank our partners who were very enthusiastic and excited from the word go. This wasn't a long conversation at all. I mean, as soon as we called GIPC was ready to jump on. As soon as we called MultiChoice, they were ready to jump on, and immediately went further and brought in Femi, which is the talent factory. And we understand that we can only make the most impact working together as a team, even on this project. I think that underlines the core pathos or ethos, whichever way you want to put it, of the project itself. And I'm excited. I'm excited because of the projects I've seen. I'm excited because where I sit, the future looks very bright. I know this is a time all over when people are very low in energy, but you need to know that there's so much happening, there's so much opportunity, and we are all excited about it, and we are committed to working to move us all forward as a collective, as Ghanaians and as Africans. And I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who tuned in to the program today.
Thank you very, very much, Juliet. And I want to say thank you to all the panelists for giving us more than we asked for of their time. It's almost 3 hours, and it's been, we could have gone for another 6, I know, because there's a lot of things. It was an enjoyable conversation, and I hope that we do this again under Juliet's guidance and direction. And thank you all for sparing this time. Ghanaian Creatives, thank you a lot. And I would also want to say something about the audience. As soon as we started, it's actually been a very stable, attentive number. And I'm enjoying the conversations going on in the chats. I think we can carry it to the National Film Authority's pages on social media. Facebook is the National Film Authority. On YouTube, you can go there. Let's keep this conversation going. If we do not talk, we do not progress. People think sometimes we talk too much. No, if we don't start conversations, we don't get anywhere. And it's only by talking about it that we kind of harness the solutions of everyone across board. Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely, lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.